So guys, I've had an idea. This is all positive. This is something that I've been thinking about for some time, and I've kind of almost about decided to go for it. So I notice a lot of things from the volume of people that contact me. Guys my age, women, younger guys, people from all walks of life, older guys, older females, just people that are looking for contact or advice. They're asking for advice about who they can speak to because they've contacted a professional organisation or a GP and they are being told that it will be 3 or 4 months before they can get to be seen, or 5 or 6 months before they can be seen by an organisation like RAMH, for instance. Okay, because these organisations are saturated. Now, the last thing I'll ever do is have a dig at any of these organisations, but having had experience of them, I must say that the situation isn't good with them, and the waiting times are horrendous. And during that length of time, anything can happen. We all know how it can end when someone's feeling down. So I was thinking to myself, what if we had something in the city or various locations? You get these hubs that you can hire a space so we could move around. And say for instance it was here just now in the city centre, and you could walk in off the street any time of the day, evening, weekend, and be greeted by an untrained, non-professional human being who has given up their time to have a conversation with you. Now, this is my idea. So you'll walk in and no one will be identified by a badge or a name or a t-shirt or a hat or anything to suggest who they are. You'll just be greeted. And basically my thinking is that simple act of humanity, that little simple act of, how you doing, mate? Do you fancy a cup of tea? Do you want a biscuit with that? Go and get a seat over here. Different little locations. So the person that's not feeling great doesn't have to identify themselves in any way at all. They don't have to declare themselves. Hi, my name's Joe, I'm not feeling great, I'm feeling terrible, I'm feeling great. They don't have to do any of that, right? They just have to walk in the door. And by the very act of walking in the door, you are already telling us that you are there for a conversation. You are there for that simple act of humanity that you couldn't get over the phone, that you couldn't get through your GPs or your health service or your health centres or any of these numbers that you can apparently phone and there's help there. Because everyone says the same thing, right? They say there's no help available. And that's seriously disturbing. I met a guy the other night who had been waiting 5 months and they kept cancelling his date and stating things about the virus and stuff and saying, oh, we can't get you in for an appointment because of this and that and the next thing. And that's just not good enough. Because the only people that are going to help us are us. Okay? We are misrepresented in every level. The system is so broken. There's not enough help. And there's amazing health professionals out there, but there's not enough of them, and we can't clone them. And we can't ask them to work 70, 80, 90 hour weeks, and we can't ask them to be on call from 7 in the morning till 7 at night and work the weekend, because people have lives and their families. So I wonder, could we set something up where it's volunteers, we're untrained, I'm untrained certainly, and we just give some of our time and we build up a network of volunteers, and nothing's done over a phone. We don't provide a service like that. But what we'll do is you'll be able to walk in the door and sit down comfortably in a safe environment and have that humanity, that basic face-to-face act of, hi mate, how you doing? I'm Alex. Do you want a cup of tea? Do you want a biscuit? Do you want a coffee? do you want a seat? And then it's up to the individual to say, listen, I'm not feeling great, or talk, or just don't say anything. No one will be under any pressure at all. There'll be none of that. You can just sit at a table and randomly join 2 or 3 people and sit down and say nothing. You don't have to be anybody. You don't have to have a name. You don't have to do anything. You can just feel that people are there for you. Something you can't get over a phone, and something that you can't get a lot of the time when you're deeply troubled, and you could be manic, you could be bipolar, you could be any of these things. You could have been coming off medication, off alcohol, substances, and you can't function properly, and you can't get access to a phone, and you can't get access to a system, or you can't handle being on a waiting line. You can't handle any of that, so you just want to walk in somewhere. So that's my idea, and I think that Glasgow needs that. I think society needs it, and I think that we need it. I think people are struggling big time because of the way that we are being subdued and suppressed and crushed repeatedly, time and time again, by those who govern us. They are destroying us as human beings. Our very primitive, basic instincts are to communicate and to talk and to have compassion and empathy, and we are not allowed to have that just now through these isolation tactics. And I understand the requirement for it. If it's genuine, I understand it, and I'm fine with it. But it doesn't appear to be working. It appears to be having an adverse effect on people, which I'm an advocate for mental health. Everyone has the right to feel healthy. Everyone has the right to feel of free speech and free thinking. People have the right to communicate, and they have the right to have some basic human contact. You know, whatever anyone thinks, that's my opinion, and I'm allowed to have it, and I will always voice it. I don't fear any type of reprisal from that. If you don't like my opinion, I'm not asking you to listen to it. It's mine only. So that's something I'm going to do. I've got a couple of guys who might be interested in helping me with that. We would do as much as we can ourselves. It wouldn't take a great deal, and also it will show charities these days for what they are. You know, I read recently about a certain charity, which I won't name, that's got £50 million a year running costs. Really? £50 million a year running costs? So they float all their money on the stock exchange and play with people's kind donations, so that their CEOs and their directors and shareholders can get their 200 and 300 grand each, you know. Anyway, we won't be going down that road. It will cost almost nothing to set up. It'll be done through donations, tiny little donations, £1 a head. It soon adds up, guys, and we can go in and scalp it. Donations, couple of second-hand couches, tables and chairs, nothing fancy. Tea, coffee, anybody walking past can throw in a packet of biscuits, throw in some homemade scones, I'll buy the jam, and we're sorted, we're jamming. And that's basically it. Now, someone had suggested this early on my YouTube channel, and I like the name Headspace. You know, Headspace is a good name, and it's just something that we can all relate to. And an offshoot of it would be that we could identify a different area in and around Glasgow and its many suburbs, and we could go to different areas, and we could have a meeting in a park in Dumbarton one week, and the following week we could have a meeting in a park in the south side or up in the north side of Glasgow, and we could ping the location, and anyone who wants to turn up could turn up, and we can go a walk round a park for an hour on a Sunday, and basically you could just turn up, and you don't, the whole point is that you don't have to speak. You can just come up and slowly but surely get comfortable with people, and there'll be no one in charge, there'll be no one who is the point of contact, there'll be nothing like that. Every single person will be on an equal keel. We'll all have our own personal reasons for being there, and you could just bump somebody in the elbow and say, how you doing? Having a bit of a bad day. And you can fall to the back, or you can go to the front, you can walk in the middle, or you can go off with a little group of 2 or 3, just anything at all, dead easy, dead relaxed. The pressure of admittance is gigantic. Admitting that you've got some issues is a massive thing for some people, and they just can't do it, and that's why they take that fatal step, you know, that walk to oblivion, that final fatal horrific end. We know what that is, and that's avoidable. That's surely avoidable for a massive percentage of people through basic help, a small tiny act of humanity. And I just don't see it anywhere. I don't see it. I know there's things that you can phone, like the Samaritans and stuff, and they're amazing people. And anyone that's doing anything's amazing. Glasgow tonight was full of people out doing the food banks again, and I was round a few and just helping, just soup kitchens, just giving people 10 minutes of their time. They're Friday night, cold, wet, horrible night. People are out helping folk. The people need to help the people. We need to help each other, right? No one in power. You're never going to see a banker out, or a gigantic CEO of a company out doing that. You're never going to see a banker out giving people soup. You're never going to see politicians out at midnight handing folk stuff. You're never going to see Parliament and all the toffs. You're never going to see them out doing it. They're not going to do it. Do you know why? Because they don't want to. They don't want to help anybody. They want to help themselves and feather their own nests and have that luxury, right? This is the real life. This is the real life out here. People are struggling, they're broken, they've got nothing. There's folk isolated with no one to speak to. There's people with real struggles, real mental health issues that need help. They need people like you, volunteers that will come and do 2 hours on a Monday, an hour on a Thursday night, an hour on a Sunday. Ain't at all. 1 hour a week, half an hour a week of your time could change someone's life. That's important. I used to always be motivated by success, by work, by graft, by, you know, chasing what I thought was the right thing. It doesn't work for me now. I get so much more reward from someone messaging me and saying, Alex, I watched your video, mate, and it's really helped me. It's lifted a cloud off my shoulder, and that means the world to me. And I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care. I genuinely don't care what anybody thinks about anything that I'm doing. I'm doing it for what I believe is the right reason, which is to help the brothers, help the sisters. That's the name of the game, guys. Honestly, it lightens the load, it lightens your mood. When a person contacts you, a stranger, and says, I seen your video last week, it appealed to me a lot, and I've been able to take the first steps to correcting my situation and bettering myself. I've knocked this in the head, I've knocked that in the head, I've got out the front door, I've went a wee jog, you know, I've lifted some of the burden. The weight's rising. That's fantastic. That's what you want to hear. So I'm going to get the ball rolling with this, and there's a million locations that would be suitable for it, and I'm going to find something dirt cheap. I'm going to find something absolutely dirt cheap. I'm going to put the word out, even if I may be able to get a location for free for 6 months, and I'm going to build a network of people. I'm going to build a network of volunteers to come and help. And I'm going to make this happen, and it's going to help people. It's going to help people, and it's going to embarrass the services with all the money and all the assets that are just not doing enough. And I don't really care anyway about them, because we can do it ourselves. We can fix it ourselves. We can fix a lot of it. We don't have to wait for 3 and 4 and 5 months. And I understand none of us will be professionals, but do you know what? There'll be professionals that will come and volunteer, and there'll be professionals that will come and give us advice and help, and look for triggers, to look for, you know, signs of serious people that have got serious welfare problems and additional needs, and they need support, and I can learn a lot, and I've got good contacts. You know, I've got guys that are well trained that already do things with great organisations, and they'll help me and direct me and tell me where to look for, you know. So that's a big part of it. That's the plan, guys. That's kind of the idea that's been spinning around my head for the past few weeks, and it's going to happen. It has to happen, you know, because although I'm doing a lot elsewhere and it's a massive burden and it's a massive weight and it's growing arms and legs by the hour on every level, this is something that's deeply important to me as well. I hate to think of guys my age, and anyone, male, female, anyone young, old, whatever, just people struggling that don't need to be struggling. Folk getting help, they're not getting it. They're just, it's not there. It's too much of a, there's too much demand on the services. The services are strapped, they're underfunded, they're badly managed, they're badly administered. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. And I think we can fix a lot of the problem ourselves. I don't think we need to wait. Alright, so there we go. That's that. That's my idea. And that will probably be something that will be happening soon. Rules, regulations, lockdowns or not, there's nothing to stop people communicating and having that basic human contact. That's a major part of the process of healing for anyone that's struggling. So there you go. What do you think of that? Hit me up and give me some feedback, guys, and I'd appreciate it. Alright, and thank you very much. I'm going to share this, and if you could share it on your own things as well, that would be great. Right, good night. I'm going to get down the road for a cup of tea now. Cheers.